The new Keyport Depot and Intermediate Maintenance Activity, or IMA, are open for business. Our workforce maintains social distancing throughout our facilities, and we continue to find new ways to provide distance between our team members. Our additive manufacturing capabilities have been supplying protective equipment to local civilians and military medical providers in their fight against the coronavirus. We will continue maintaining equipment and providing quality torpedoes to the warfighters on the tip of the spear.
Good morning, everyone. As we're transitioning from the video to our slide presentation, we have a little poll that we'll go ahead and put up there.
So if you've attended these before, you know we just want to get a good idea of who's attending today. So please check all that apply. Okay, looks like Dave's ready. So let me end the polling and share the results. And by and large, as we would like, it is a lot of small business, but almost the same amount of large business. And then with the various certifications. So we thank you for being with us today. Okay, Dave.
Great. Thank you. And again, good morning, everyone, for joining us today. This is our 4th Industry Day session. Again, I'm Dave Walls, and I'm the Deputy for Small Business here at the Naval Undersea Warfare Center at Keyport. And I want to welcome you to this virtual Industry Day. And we're happy that you're taking some time out of your busy day to spend an hour with us and learn a little bit more about Keyport. Again, this is our 4th of 6 Industry Day engagements, where today we will be providing an overview of the Naval Undersea Warfare Center Keyport's Maintenance, Engineering, and Industrial Operations Department. But before we get started, I'm going to hand this over to our PTAC folks who are providing us the platform for this Industry Day. So with that, Ms. Tiffany Scruggs.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to join you today and to help host the Keyport Industry Day once again. I'm Tiffany Scruggs, and I manage the Procurement Technical Assistance Center known as PTAC for Washington State. PTAC is a nationwide organization in every state in the Union, funded in part by the Department of Defense, Defense Logistics Agency. And our job is to help provide no-cost services to businesses in any industry to sell to any level of government, including the U.S. Navy. And our services are offered at no cost, like I mentioned, and we can help with a proposal review. We could answer questions related to compliance of a federal contract. We can help with registration, certifications, and everything in between. So there's PTACs in every state, so contact your local PTAC. On the slide there is the Association of PTAC website, where you can click on the map and find the PTAC closest to you. Here in Washington, feel free to reach out to me. That's my direct line, and I can connect you to a team member closest to you. So it's great to be here, Dave. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Before I introduce today's speaker, I want to establish some ground rules. If we have any questions for our main speaker or our panelists later on today, please put your question in the chat box and begin the question with the word question, as that's going to help us be able to filter out what is a question or what's just a comment. When our panel members come up to speak, if you have a question for them, if you could just put their name down or who you want that question to go to. That would be helpful as well for the people monitoring the chat and asking that question. So again, today's session is going to be an overview of the Maintenance, Engineering, and Industrial Operations Department. And to start this Industry Day session, the department head, Mr. Jim Bleich, will be giving an overview. Mr. Jim Bleich was appointed as the Code 30 acting department head in May of 2020. Previously to this position, he was the Code 40 department head from November 2018 through May 2020. Jim is 35 years of experience in government and industry supporting in-service engineering and maintenance, including roles as depot engineer, technical project manager, division head, and customer advocate supporting numerous submarine combat systems and weapons programs. Mr. Bleich holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Lehigh University, a master's of business administration from City University, and a master's of public administration from Indiana University. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Bleich, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Bleich, and the floor is yours.
All right, excellent. Dave, I can see you on my screen, but can I get a thumbs up that my audio is coming through? Got it. All right, excellent. This is kind of a new experience for all of us, of course, that we are kind of giving out blind presentations. It's unusual to make a presentation and not see anybody. So welcome everybody. As Dave talked about, I'm the department head for the Maintenance, Engineering, Industrial Operations Department. I was slotted in over here a few weeks ago, actually, but I'm not a stranger to the group. I spent about 8 years in the group prior to my assignment as a department head in the in-service engineering group. So this is not unfamiliar territory for me, and I welcome the opportunity to talk with you all about the group and our needs going forward. So we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so our core mission area, right? Maintenance, repair, and maintenance technology. What does that mean? Well, fundamentally, we have these three lines of business that we operate. Undersea weapons, undersea vehicles, and weapons is the primary repair lines that we have, or the production lines that we have. Maintenance. We do predominantly the overhaul and refurbishment of torpedoes as well as UUVs for the Navy. The next main line that we have is the repair line, where we take and dealing with both NAVSUP as well as some dedicated Navy and other Department of Defense customers. We are a full-scale depot repair operation from system level down through component level repair of those systems. Along with that, we have a group that we have titled the Custom Engineering Solutions Group, which takes at-risk material, if you will. Think about obsolescence, think about perhaps abandoned product lines, etc. And we are able to do some reverse engineering and some product support in terms of perhaps some enhancements, etc. that would then provide further life out of those systems. The last line that we have going on is the maintenance technology insertion, where we are trying to take outdated maintenance practices and inject current day technology and actually look for future technologies to improve effectiveness of maintenance. That could be in a shipyard environment, that could be in a depot environment, a production environment relative to the Navy, etc. I should qualify that when I say production. We are not in the business of producing large-scale quantities of anything. Our typical production, if you will, is proof of concept production before we turn those over to industry, and that could be anything running from tens of 20s to maybe a few hundred to get the product started, and then we can get a good technical data package out to industry and get our partners to help us with that. So off to the left, if you look at the slide there, today's Navy, where are we at? Well, obviously, to say that things are rapidly changing and systems and new technologies are happening is an understatement. We've seen massive change in industry, massive change in technologies from, you go back, and this goes back many years really, but we're still dealing with the same technology changes, from custom designed, chip design, specific board level design systems to incorporation of COTS systems, from manufacturing technologies that talk about specific data packages to now additive manufacturing type processes. So a lot of changes in where technology has gone, and yet we are still supporting some of the same systems that were designed under the older technologies. So that is part of our paradigm that we work with in trying to understand how to support our systems. The systems designs in terms of maintenance pipelines and everything were typically done in a very system specific manner. And now we're looking at trying to create more open architectures and ways of looking at things that, so that one tester fits all, or multiple tests could be done from the same platform. So where are we heading? And that really, looking at the developmental priorities, certainly the data sciences is a big one for us. As we look at the aggregation of all the data that's out there, and we've accumulated a lot in the data. We've accumulated a lot in the maintenance systems, but we haven't yet really captured how to take that data and get information out of it. Partnering with the in-service engineering groups, partnering with the fleet, trying to understand how to take that data, put it into the algorithms and get information out that the fleet can use to understand, hey, how's my platform doing? How's my system doing? What's the next thing that's going to break? When I come into port, is there something I should change out so that I can go out on a mission for 3 or 4 or 6 months and not worry about that particular machine? And so some of those algorithms, particularly effective more, I think, in the mechanical rotating type systems, but we're also interested in understanding how we could make that work for electronic systems. I think some of that data is there. We haven't quite captured it and gotten on board with that. Next 2 lines talk really about a change in the tooling that we use from an engineering and logistics and in-service perspective. The model-based systems engineering, model-based product support are both initiatives, if you will, that take us into digital engineering. Much of what we have right now is either paper-based or what you could almost nomenclature analog-based engineering. These model-based systems and model-based processes, to be honest, we are just entering into understanding and knowing how to use these. The model-based product support is an initiative out of CO6L that is taking much of the traditional support products in the maintenance and logistics areas and putting them into a cloud-based unified system. So it's aggregating many disparate systems, and going back to bullet 1, that means our data sciences is going to catch up with the ability to put all these data systems together. So the next 2 or 3 bullets really talk to what we think is happening for in the future of some Navy systems out there, right? Really exciting is that for the first time in really decades, we have some truly new weapon systems coming on in terms of torpedoes. So those are in the near-term pipeline over the next 3 to 4 years. Academia and government are partnering with industry to develop those systems. Keyport's on the receiving end in terms of helping to do some test and evaluation on those systems, as well as they'll be incorporated into our intermediate maintenance activities and into our depots for supporting. So that will bring aboard some different energy systems, as well as just some different material that's coming down the line. Some of those are coming with some of the model-based systems or the model-based support. Some aren't. We are looking to go ahead and embrace and work with our program office partners and understand how we can continue to transition those that way. That's still coming. UUV maintenance and payloads. Keyport is well centered at this point to become the hub of UUV maintenance for the Navy, supporting all classes of UUVs. We have some facilities work being done, as well as certainly ramping up our tooling, as well as our folks to become knowledgeable on UUV maintenance. Again, that's going to be a mix of contractor supplied, almost COTS-like vehicles, along with some government modifications and payloads that will come aboard and we'll be doing that. We'll kind of jump over to the automation and robotics. We have a dedicated group that's been working for many years to, and this really falls into the maintenance technology insertion, looking at how do we incorporate, automate, and modernize the way things are done. It's almost like it's the unmanned systems of the shipyard. So things like crawlers and inspections and tooling that can take over for very laborious man-made or currently man-operated systems. That's where that comes in. We're looking at developing more of those as we go forward to take burden off, to increase safety, et cetera, improve efficiency of our shipyards. Moving on to our additive manufacturing, repair, and advanced coating technologies. Keyport's been involved in additive type manufacturing, additive repair type technologies for probably 20 years at this point, whether it was laser welding or laser additive or some of the other techniques, the cold sprays and the hot sprays and what we all kind of think about as the 3D printers, et cetera. We are very much steeped in those technologies and trying to drive the Navy's need and drive the Navy's technology direction as to where we're heading with those and the application of those systems. So going down to the bottom left, as we think about the next Navy, the 5 to 10 year Navy, right? Talked about some of these already, but we'll just kind of repeat a little bit of this. I really think that we are on the verge of a major change in how we view and support the maintenance of our systems. The model-based systems, the model-based product support, as well as some of these technologies that have been slow to be adopted. I think there's now energy behind them, like the additive systems and everything, that are going to, over the next 5 to 10 years, really, we're going to crack the nut on how to make those mainstream. And I think the best entry point we have for those is some of these new weapons coming down and the UVs, et cetera, where perhaps we don't have a program that has a long history of using things in a certain way, that we'll be able to help them, these new programs, reap the benefits of this, while we're also looking at backfitting the older programs. I'd like to say that, within 5 to 10 years, we will also crack the nut on predictive maintenance. It's such a huge thing, if we can send a submarine out with confidence that they can operate for the full life of their deployment, or a surface ship or any other vessel, without worrying about having to repair, et cetera, or if underway they have the diagnostics to know before something fails that they need to fix it. And that then also helps us to understand how to properly outfit the ships and submarines so that they have the right parts on board, so we can then, and also providing them the right tooling from the perspective of perhaps additive manufacturing on board and some advanced support tools like augmented reality, virtual reality type tool sets. I think those types of things are within our reach in the next 5 to 10 years worth of stuff coming out. Keyport, I think, is well positioned to help to identify and figure out the direction we need to help go. I think we'll be also then reaching out to our industry partners for some of the implementation of these strategies as we move forward. I also think that we will also look for ways in which we do more distributed maintenance. so that the sailor is better equipped to maintain their own equipment as opposed to having to pull them to a port, etc. The Navy after next plus 20 years, you extend out there. You could, for some of us folks that might be around for a while, you think about the Star Trek replicator and the holodecks and some of those type things. I won't see that in my lifetime as a DoD civilian, but I'm pretty confident that some of the folks on the phone here and some of the folks in our facility will see some of those type things happening. I don't know that we can even envision where those can go, but you can see some of the suggestions there as we look at autonomy and systems out there that are operating on their own. So I think there's an immense technological future that is difficult, I think, to predict. But working together, I think we can go there. So Dave, next slide, please. So what are we looking for? What are the types of things we typically are involved with? On the left-hand side there, you see we have our services contracting type efforts. We have two major services contracts that we rely on for what I'll call our on-site support. Our tasking, the industrial services contract is predominantly currently is with Delphinus. It was awarded in 2017. You can read that there. It's an option base year plus 4 option years. So we still have a couple of years on that one left. Through that contract, we reach out and get a lot of our folks that are actually doing hands-on maintenance and work on our systems here on site. The engineering support services contract with Nautical Research, awarded in 2016. That's actually in competition now. So what that contract does for us is gets our professional system or professional workforce type supplementation. So that could be our mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, some of our higher tech type services that we need to, again, supplement. Like I said, I mean, we typically, beyond these, we have other services. You can see them listed there as we look at, we have a full industrial shop. So there's a set of maintenance associated with that. You can see that going down the list there, whether it's calibration or test set repair or maintenance of our CNC machines or other type machines. We have some electroplating and anodizing that we go out to the local area to get some help with those type services as well. On the right-hand side, you can see some different materials that spans really from the electrical to the mechanical and the electromechanical. We do some prototyping, and so we have circuit card printed wiring boards that we have needs for typically, fabrication of various aluminum parts and pieces, as well as mechanical assemblies, and then electrical assemblies where we are buying either continued supply of existing system parts, or whether or not, or perhaps even buying replacements and qualifying them in this form and function. On the electromechanical assemblies, really that could be anything from pieces that we actually are part of our Navy systems, or it could be part of our infrastructure where we are adding or replacing capability in-house to support our production shops or our repair and the industrial shops. We have some internal capability to do some cable assemblies and whatnot, but we often also go out to industry for help in those areas. It could be also for whether that's connectors and pieces of cable, or it is complete cable assemblies. We span that. Computers, it's both from maybe a single board computer type perspective up through servers, etc., used in our systems as we both in-house and our Navy systems, and then down into the smaller piece parts, both catalog type items as well as unique design to spec or per drawing type requests out there. So I think that is the last slide I had, Dave. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And thank you so much, Jim, for providing an overview. And before we go to the panel, I'm going to go to Tiffany. And Tiffany, any questions out there for Mr. Bleich?
Yeah, we have a few, Jim, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about your model-based engineering needs?
Right. So I mentioned that we're kind of nascent in our entry into there. We have a few pockets on station where program offices have engaged us to do some modeling of systems, etc. One of the projects we have going on right now is in our torpedo industrial intermediate maintenance assembly area, where we are actually trying to model the production floor. A fairly complex model. We are certainly, you know, if you think about it's everything from the physical layout and flow through of the systems up through all of the critical needs, personnel, parts, when do we think pieces are coming in, when do we need to put weapons out the door, fleet interface, software requirements. So that's one of the models we are trying to start working on right now. And so it's models and simulations from that perspective up through models and of actual end item deliverables to the fleet, so that then we can start looking at, you know, taking the models from models to simulations, and simulations then to do predictive engineering.
Great, thank you. Lisa asks, to what extent does the Maintenance Engineering and Industrial Operations Office focus on the safety of maintenance workers and engineers as they perform their tasks in possibly dangerous spaces?
Oh, that's a I was going to say daily, but it's an hourly, it's a constant view. So especially, you know, recently with the advent of our COVID crisis, it took us a long time to understand how to outfit and prepare our spaces. You know, initially we had to go ahead and put everybody out of the shops, and then we've been able to actually come back and accommodate that so that we have the workers safely protected from the virus. But beyond that, we have a very robust training program and qualification program that ensures each employee knows their job, knows the safety hazards and the PPE associated, as well as the processes by which they can then come out and if they feel unsafe, if there's something happening, they know they can contact their supervisors. On station, we have a safety office that provides both support and oversight for our safety programs. So it is definitely a very integrated part of the DNA of our group.
Great, thank you. Do you typically hire contract labor at the senior level or entry level?
Yes.
Great. There you go, Robert. Mike Monahan asks, how do your teams address or overcome the lack of available tech data for maintenance items?
That's a great question. So we really run the gamut of, you know, as an organic depot or an organic engineering group from that perspective. Honestly, we really rarely get the easy things, right? So often the materials and the pieces that we're working on are exactly in that case. Hey, I got a widget, it's not working right, or I can't find anybody to support this thing. I really don't know all the tech data associated with it. Can you reverse engineer? Can you figure out what this thing's supposed to do? Can you work with it? It's a skill that we have grown over many years of working with it. And I'd love to give you a distinct answer, but really it's an art form. We certainly have some tooling that we use, whether it's some X-ray and that kind of stuff to help us look at the insides of these pieces as we're working on them. But it's a lot of great engineering and technical knowledge that our folks have built up over years on understanding how to reverse engineer and then gain confidence back that we can fix and repair it back to its original condition, supply it to the sailors in ready for issue status.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Eric?
Hey, Tiffany.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and end questions right there.
Okay.
But I hope Mr. Bleish could stay on, and we'll pick up the questions after we have our panel members give their introduction. But before we go to the panel members, give them a little bit of time to get ready to introduce themselves, we do have another poll question that will launch out for the viewers to participate in.
Okay, this one's easier. We just want to know how many of these events you have been to. Just a couple more seconds. Okay, pretty even, but majority at 2 events. Back to you, Dave.
Excellent, thank you. And again, thank you, Mr. Bleish, for your overview and answering some questions. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and just park on this current slide here, because the panel members all have experience in either the service contracts or the materials. So with that, I'm going to introduce the panel members and let them introduce who they are, where they work, and how industry helps them out. So first, I'll start with Mr. Jeff Stoke.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I am the technical project manager for the Combat Systems Depot in Code 31. My portfolio could be described as being an inch deep and a mile wide, with about 1,000 components repaired per year. I have a very broad spectrum of 200 different product lines that are supported. And I think the main area that I can use some support is in hiring engineers and technicians that would help to repair these components and to build new features. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Jerry Austin.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Jerry Austin. I'm the engineering branch head in the depot. I work closely with Mr. Stock on the wide variety of product lines that we have. You know, the question earlier about what stage are we looking for engineering services at, I think that's one that's near and dear to my heart. We do bring in a lot of entry-level folks via contract tools. We also bring in a lot of senior people and people who have expertise for short-term tasks. And in my branch, I see a lot of kind of near-term, short-fuse tasks to help us clean up our data systems, help us standardize our documents. I see that growth. And one thing that's of personal interest to me is inspection equipment. In particular, I mean, a lot of us, we're still using the dial calipers and the analog inspection gauges. And I've been interested in a lot of the technology over the last 10 years for visual inspection and quantification of defects. Sealing surfaces are something that's particularly near and dear to my heart. So being able to have automated test equipment that takes that subjectiveness out of the technician's eyes. We have some techs who have very good eyes. We have other techs who, you know, don't have very good eyes, and getting that repeatability in our inspection process and making it clear, quantifiable, and knowing that uncertainty is something that we're constantly trying to do in our processes. You know, so tools, technology, contracts, and probably my biggest problem that I have in my branch is all of the different data systems that we deal with on one day. And that's a barrier because we have a lot of other requirements to meet there, but I'm always interested in the one size fits all data repository solutions that can help us manage our operations, our qualifications, our products, and things like that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Nick Plum. Mr. Plum may be having some technical difficulties. So we'll go to Mr. Jose Cardoza.
I can speak for both of them because they're my counterparts here in the depot. Nick is the planning branch head, and Jose deals with the logistics realm. So again, finding suppliers for materials, especially the hard to find things that we're looking for, and looking at data systems are really their areas of interest.
Great, thank you. Mr. Jeff Kemp.
Hello, yeah, my name is Jeff Camp. I am the Planning and Logistics Branch Head in the Custom Engineering Solution Division. We do a fair amount of what is on the right-hand side of that slide, which is the circuit cards, aluminum alloy fabrication, electrical assemblies, cable assemblies, a lot of that. So we are regularly and routinely looking for sources for all kinds of materials, be it just strict electronic components, connectors, circuit boards, the bare boards, printed wiring assemblies, printed wiring boards are a constant churn for us, trying to find good qualified sources for those. Also some machine shops, any mechanical fabrication, we're looking to augment or pass off some of the stuff that we have already developed. So it's a constant, I wouldn't say struggle, but it is a constant search for good, qualified, steady suppliers of those items. That's all.
Great, thank you. Ms. Trish McAllister. Okay, Mr. Nick Bankus.
Hi, my name is Nick Bankus. I also work in the Custom Engineered Solutions division with Jeff. I'm in the Mechanical Engineering branch as one of the lead engineers. We have quite a few different aspects of what will work. So we provide a lot of the engineering support for the fabrication that Jeff was just talking about, like maybe designing cable molds, just figuring out equipment maintenance, that kind of stuff. And general just project engineering roles that are necessary. And then also there's kind of the technology side of the house where we're having to reverse engineer the obsolete components that Jim Bleich was talking about earlier. Inspection is a heavy part of what we need to do, kind of mirroring what Jerry Austin was previously discussing, looking for defects, using maybe a vision for doing actual inspection of finished components or looking at components in for repair. We do a lot of the automation and robotics stuff. So always looking for new technologies that we can assist with inserting into different depots, such as the shipyards or even our own depot and the torpedo depots. And then of course the additive manufacturing aspects. We have a lot. We have quite a few machines. I think we're well over 10 different industrial 3D printing machines. So from different types of plastics, and we have a metal printing machine capable of quite a few different alloys. And yeah, we just do a lot with the technology insertion and providing that support to get new people trained up and actually implement on our production lines.
Great, thank you. Mr. Daniel Gentile.
Hi, my name's Daniel Gentile. I'm in the electrical engineering branch, and our specialty is the reverse engineering and redesign of circuit boards. We have diverse prototyping capabilities, including the manufacture of multi-layer circuit boards. We also do some production work, which includes creating custom automated testing equipment, the software and fixturing. We are interested in learning about cutting edge prototyping equipment or supporting services. We have an immediate interest in learning about chemical etching systems for PCBs and a more modern pick and place system. Over.
Great.
This
thank
is
you.
Jerry Austin. If I can have the nickel back to the depot. It appears that a couple of our people on the phone line can't unmute themselves and contribute. So regarding Nick Plum and Jose Cardoza, our planning and our logistics branch, they've also expressed an interest in production simulation and inventory management technologies. Inventory is a big headache of ours, understanding where everything is at any one time. And we've talked a lot over the years about RFID tracking or similar technologies, and we've never been able to get there. I kind of think that's what they're talking about there, are systems for engineering. And then production simulation, we have a lot of handoffs in our organization. If you look at any one of our process maps, it winds up being very long and lengthy. And as we talk about change management and tweaking systems and altering processes, being able to test that in a virtual environment and actually get some statistical data on throughput and improvements, that would be of interest to us, because right now we just kind of roll it out and see how it works, which is kind of the 1980 way of doing things, not the 2020 way of doing things. And then lastly, another big item of interest for us recently with this shift to the virtual world has been any technology that can enable our workforce to collaborate and contribute and work virtually. We're very much stuck in the old system of email, being an old technology that things pile up. We're leaning into a lot of these new tools, and we're always interested in what's out there, especially things that can be used in a secure environment. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Trent Trempanier. Okay, Mr. Ed Quinlan.
This is Ed Quinlan. I don't have any specifics that I'm going to go ahead and brief to the group. I was here to listen in on what the requirements were for feature engineering and service contract specifics, and then answer questions, possibly the specific ones we have now.
Great, thank you, Ed. And Ed, you're a contract officer representative, and which service contract are you the contracting officer representative on?
I'm currently the contracting officer representative for the engineering support services contract, and I'm also the ACOR to the industrial support services contract.
Great, thank you. And Ms. Denise Tatum, are you online today?
Hi, yes, Dave, I am. Hi, I'm Denise Tatum. I am one of the Code 30 cores. I support the service contracts, the industrial service and engineering support services contract. I also support R&D contracts and do a lot of acquisition development. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. So that's our panel, and we do have other folks on the line as well that I didn't introduce as panel members, but if we have some questions, and it looks like I'm looking at our little chat box, the number is growing there. Maybe they could jump in and add some information. But at this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Tiffany, and we could start asking some of these questions.
Yeah, and there was a question from two different folks about the protocol for contacting the panelists today. Dave, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So please contact me, David Walls, at the Office of Small Business. And what I'll do is I'll reach back and try to connect with our panel members and try to set up one-on-one meetings if that's what they're looking for.
Great, thank you. Question from Eric Billies, excuse my pronunciation there. Data science and AR/VR XR have been mentioned in multiple industry day sessions as a high area of need for Keyport. However, it doesn't appear that you are looking for support from industry in those areas. They're not seeing any RFPs released. Do you anticipate these capabilities ever to appear as potential requirements for service contracts? And do you know when or which ones? And I think this came in, Jim, while you were talking earlier on.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find my mute button to
Perfect.
get on here. So the answer is maybe, because I mean, we do have our engineering support services contract that we rely on to try and recruit talent from that perspective. but I can see a need if we get to the point where we are looking for, say, a given system or modeling a given product, for us to perhaps release that out and say, at which point it almost, you kind of split the line between the service and the product at that point, right? Where we would maybe release a solicitation that says, I need somebody to model this particular system and provide that model back to us. The other way I could see us reaching out would be for the training and development of our talent. We will probably need to reach out from that perspective in some ways. So that would be the ways I would think we would be reaching out.
Very good. And while I ask the next question, Dave, if you could look at Trent, comment there. It looks like he might be live on the line. But in the meantime, a question for Mr. Kemp. What specific qualifications or capabilities are you looking for in a PCB or PCBA and cable supplier?
So the qualifications for the bare boards are kind of a mixture. They are some of the mill standards that are called out. I regret that I don't have the actual mill standards or IPC numbers in front of me. If you contact David Waltz, I can get those and get those to you soon. But it is kind of a mixture of the mill standards and the IPC standards, which are standard callouts on most circuit cards. For that, one other note with circuit cards: a lot of the circuit cards that we manufacture are old. Current technology is we would send Gerber files to a manufacturer. They would just make the boards. A lot of times we are not provided Gerber files. With a lot of old equipment, it used to be the vellums, the actual artwork files that you would send out, and they would make them from those. Those are no longer available. What you wind up with in a lot of cases are just paper-based drawings that are not to scale or anything like that. But so we have to arduously create the Gerber files from those. If there's a PCB supplier out there that has that capability, that would be something I think we would be interested in also.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Wonderful. Okay, I'm moving on to the next question, Dave. From Eric. Question: Jerry Austin and the others discussed the need for short-term deliverable-based requirements the industry could assist with. Would Keyport consider using contract vehicles for professional services, including non-Seaport vehicles, that are more conducive to specific solution-based requirements versus long-term service requirements that are unable to meet current needs?
I'm going to punt that over to Ed since he's the core, but my impression is, yeah, we do have a lot of defined tasks, that this vehicle could be used for. Ed, you want to take the rest of that?
Just trying to get unmuted here. I certainly can. And Denise can also spill into really the biggest thing that we have to look at when we're not using the service type contract from, say, a Seaport vehicle is we have to look at the values, the type of contract vehicle that we want to use if it's a short term. And then we validate that there's not something already out there that we can leverage. That really takes the longest period of time. Once that's determined and we know, then we approach contracts with it, and I think they would be open to various contracting vehicle or types if it falls within the categories of something we don't already have in place.
Oh, great, thank you. And Trent, did we get a full intro from you, or did you want to expand a little bit?
Sure, I can expand. Hi, my name is Trent Trepanier. I'm the TPM that's a part of the Custom Engineering Solutions team here in Code 32. So a large part of what we do is we take, just how Mr. Bleich mentioned in his introduction, we take challenged supply chains and product lines, and we look at supporting growing the TDP, the technical data package, up to a procurable fashion, or we come up with alternative solutions to get onto maintained product lines to make sure that we can get that product out to the fleet. So looking forward to collaborating and working with our industry partners and being able to support any questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome. And we are looking for more questions. I have a couple more here. From Michael, he asked early on while Jim was speaking, we do digital engineering, he says, MBD, consulting, teaching, implementation, connecting systems. How can we help? Another way to, oh, you're unmuting. Great, Jim.
Yeah, trying to work that out. I think my answer is still the same. You know, I think as we reach out and as we understand our needs and the degree to which we are understanding where our program offices are going, it's kind of a push me, pull you, right? We are getting our workforce ready and we're looking for how do we make sure that we're ready to transition into digital engineering. But we need to pull also from our program offices because as a working capital fund organization, we get paid for the jobs we do. We're not mission funded. So there's a little bit of balance there. I think, you know, having your resource available to us will inform us on those folks that might be out there. And I would anticipate what we would end up doing is working through a training group in our Code 10 and trying to figure out how we reach out and get the right training and assistance from that perspective.
Great, thank you, Jim. We have Kurt Warden, who's a power supply design manufacturer, asking if you provide a forecast for future or current requirements. His follow-up to that is, how can industry establish regular communications with the personnel who make the requirements?
I'll take that one real quick. We do have a forecast for our service contracts that I can provide to whoever would like a copy of it. Also, we have a long-range acquisition forecast that's posted on the headquarters NUWC website, and I can also make that available. As far as like just some of the material buys, we do not have a forecast for that. We used to publish one, but about a year ago, the contracts department did not put one together for FY20. So that's something that maybe we can get back with them to see if that could be, recreated going forward. But at this time, we do have the service forecast, and we also have a long-range acquisition forecast. And again, contact me and I can provide those to you.
Thanks, Dave. We have only one or two questions. One just came in. Is Keyport interested in fast contracting capabilities for urgent/unplanned requirements? And I guess maybe what is your method for getting those requirements met? Michael works with metals, and anyway, he's on DLA Troop Support IDIQ contract. Was wondering, I think Michael's question, if I could project potentially, is do you ever use that as a method of procurement?
Yeah, this is Jeff Camp. We have used the Metals USA contract in the past.
Can you talk a little bit about what was the environment in which you turned to that one versus another method?
Primarily, I think at first out of curiosity, we heard about it from our fellow group over at Newport who use it, I think, probably more robustly than we do. But we were looking for it for another source. We have some, there are a vast array of local sources, but we're just looking for that, sometimes for larger quantity buys, which, it's already an established contract, so it's easier to use a vehicle like that than to initiate a new contract. So for larger items, and then for sometimes some unique items that sometimes we have a little bit of difficulty finding from local vendors, we've gone to them for that.
Great, thank you. Another question came in. Are you looking for turning and milling capabilities for CNC machined components? If so, will solicitations be posted on beta.sam.gov? And when do you anticipate posting? I see Dave unmuted himself.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that. So new at Keyport, we do have those types of requirements come up for the turning and milling capabilities and CNC machine components. Unfortunately, I personally, from my office, I do not know when those come up. And as far as code 30, I'll let somebody jump in. I'm not sure if it's like a regular reoccurring type of contract requirement, but we do have quite a few contract actions at Keyport for the for machine components. So is there anybody from Code 30 who might be able to add to that?
I can add to that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. No, go for it. You take it.
So this is Jeff Camp again, working Code 32, and we have a small machine shop, so we do some, but we are always looking for sources to provide that. We don't have a regular and recurring, or it's very rarely that we would ever have a regular and recurring requirement. Our projects are not multi-year, ongoing regular projects. We get a project in to fulfill a specific need for a specific timeline. Once we do that, we may never see that again, or it could be 10 or 12 years down the line. So it's difficult to say when the requirements will be coming forth, but they do regularly. And when it's outside the capability or the capacity of our own shop, then we do that. And we do frequently go out for outside machine shop help, and we always solicit it on BetaSam.
Thank you. Have any of the panelists considered using other transaction authorities to access non-traditional defense businesses and the leading technologies discussed here today? I see Johannes has joined. I don't know, or Dave.
So I'll jump in real quick, and I don't know if Johannes has if he can speak, but at Keyport, I know of one opportunity that we have used the other transaction authority, and we used it. We used Newport, Rhode Island's OTA. I don't think Keyport has an OTA. I don't think they've established an OTA. But like I said, we are using Newport, Rhode Island's OTA. I think that is something that's always being discussed. So I would say that we could be establishing our own OTA in the future, but as of right now, from my knowledge, we're leveraging an OTA out of Newport, Rhode Island, and that one's out of our Code 20 branch, which is our test and evaluation branch.
Right. Yeah, this is Johannes. So it's unlikely we'll be setting one up because there's a lot of cost to making one and maintaining it. So Newport, Rhode Island, the Undersea Warfare Center out there is called UTIC, and it is where we're sort of going to put in our requirements and to solicit from those organizations. So for now, the best thing to do is certainly go or reach out to us, and we can connect you, and you join their sort of consortium so that you're kind of common between two different warfare centers. So that's actually better ultimately, because then it gives you access to both Keyport and Newport. There's other ones out there too. So if you're interested in them, there's a whole list of them.
Great. Thanks, Johannes. And I'm pretty sure I can dig up your email and include that in the chat if folks needed to follow up with you. Is that okay?
Yep. Perfect.
Very good. That concludes the questions. Dave, did you notice any that I missed or have any closing comments for us? Or
no,
another poll maybe?
I didn't miss anything, but we do have one more poll. So before we finish off the day, there's one more poll. This one's kind of a fun poll. So we'll let folks go ahead and start answering that. But in the meantime, I do want to thank all of the panelists for their time today. I do know, we're all very busy. during this time, and for you guys to take the time. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all those in Code 30 that helped me out with putting this together. Mr. Joel Mapes, Jamie Urkowski, also Anjuli Gutierrez. I really appreciate all the hard work that you guys did. And then again, all the panel members stepping up, and Mr. Jim Bleisha stepping in and doing a fantastic job. Also, at this time, I'd like to, again, give a big thanks to the Washington State Procurement Technical Assistance Center for providing us the support and the platform for us to have our virtual industry days. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. So again, thank you very much. And thank you, Tiffany, for monitoring the chat again, and really appreciate that. This session and all the sessions are recorded. The link to the recordings, as well as the slides that were presented, will be posted on the NUWC Keyport website when they become available. Also, please contact my office at any time to learn more about contract opportunities. Could set up one-on-one meetings if you want to learn more about Keyport. And again, if you want to try to set up a meeting with one of the panel members, please contact me, and I'll try to work with them to see what their availability is, so we could schedule that. But again, thank you everyone for attending. Next week, we have our in-service engineering department. They'll be having their industry day. So hopefully you'll come back and learn more about that department at Keyport. So thank you again. And looks like The Abyss is the best movie when it comes to suspense. So anyway, thank you everybody. All right.
You really need